would now like to introduce our guest speaker for this morning, Bart Clacker. Bart first came to Waddy Point back in 1986 as a temporary ranger with National Parks. He is now presently the acting senior ranger for Fraser Island and the management unit support team. Folks, I'll give you Bart Clacker.
Thank you, John. We meet here today not to glorify war or praise victors, but to remember those who have served our country during times of conflict and crisis, and to reflect upon their selfless sacrifice. To all Australians, Anzac Day is a tradition, paid for in blood and celebrated in our freedom. It is a day in which not only do we salute the Anzacs, but in paying tribute to them, we also take the opportunity to invigorate our national spirit and pride. On this day in 1915, a group of volunteer Australian and New Zealand soldiers found themselves wading ashore before dawn on a small beach on the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey. Many of these men were only teenagers, some as young as 16. All were anxious to prove their courage and national identity. On arrival, they would have smelt the sea air just as we can here this morning, but their scent was soon filled with the smell of gunfire and blood. And over the following 8 months, those young Anzacs experienced a living hell. In total, 36,000 Australian and New Zealand soldiers were killed or wounded at Gallipoli. But in those terrible battles, young Australians earned a reputation for courage, self-reliance and mateship. The experience drew Australians together as a nation and established our national character. The standards that they set and the Anzac spirit have been handed down ever since to all the Australian soldiers, sailors and airmen who followed them, from World War II to Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, the Gulf and many peacekeeping operations in the Middle East, Pakistan, Southeast Asia and Africa. This same spirit is represented by the few humble but proud veterans that are amongst us here this morning. We pause today to acknowledge all current and former members of our Defence Forces, the brave men and women who represent our country on a daily basis. No Australian is left untouched when a member of our Defence Force is killed in action. It is difficult to comprehend the grief associated with the loss at war of a parent, partner, child or sibling. Let us also ensure that we remember their families. On Anzac Day we pay tribute to all current and former members of the Australian Defence Force, those lost in training, on operations, the wounded, the injured and the ill, regardless of the time they served. Let us remember all the young Australians who sacrificed growing old with their families, children and friends so that we could enjoy the peace and freedom of our current lifestyles. I'd like to reflect on the history of the dawn service held here at Waddy Point, where we are privileged to pay tribute to those young Australians. It all began, I'm told, around 1989 when Gazza asked John Quincy to organise a dawn service when the Orchid Beach Resort was still up there on the hill. The service was held for the first couple of years in the resort grounds where the flagpole was situated amongst the coconut palms and the rising of the sun could be viewed across the ocean horizon. The service then moved to the former fish comp site for the next couple of years following the closure and removal of the resort in 1993. Then in 1995, the dawn service was held down here on the beach at this very site under agreement with the Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service. Then, like today, the traditional Moreton Bay porridge was the first beverage of the day, and one could only thank God for Nancy's food delights prepared in the Quincy kitchen tent for helping to soak up some of the excess beverage consumed later in the day. I can recall back then, when I was a ranger in charge here, that there were only about 40 odd people at the service. 20 years later, and we'd have to have around 400 of us here now, reflecting on the selfless sacrifices of our fallen and reinvigorating our national spirit and pride. This is the spirit of Anzac, the spirit that we must pass on to the next generations, lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Thank you very much, Bart. I should now like to ask associations and services to lay wreaths. I will call them to do so. Following this, anybody else who wishes to lay a wreath, please do so. And those people, if they could move to the front, it would be good. Thank you. Colin Bell, the Orchid Beach RSL sub-branch. John Quincy, the Long Tan Veterans Association. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Let us now hope.
As the blood of Australians was shed on the sod, for Australia, for Britain, humanity, God. Shall Australia's mourn for the sons she has lost? Shall Australians weep? Nay, great though the cost. Joy mingles with grief, pride mingles with pain, for our boys died like heroes and died not in vain. And the soul of Australia, newborn on the day where her sons died in Anzac, shall never decay.
Thank you, Adam. That poem was first published in the Brisbane Courier Mail on the 25th of April 1916 by an unknown author. Ladies and gentlemen and children, this concludes our service for this morning. I'd like to thank you all once again. Breakfast and finger food at intervals regularly during the whole day. It'll be $20 a head, and that includes rum and milk if if you feel that way, breakfast and finger food all day, and they'll be selling the wristbands and the tickets in the usual place just over the back here. So if you purchase one of those, you'll be right to have the food and the breakfast. The tray's empty. Just be patient and hang on. They'll be back. They'll certainly be back. The beer tickets from the usual place.
This is where everybody's getting a wristband for breakfast on the Run on Elk. This is Liz, retired school teacher from West End.
Yeah, we're right. We haven't got
Thank you very much.
John service at Waddy. Orchid Beach. About 400 in attendance.
Dawn service, Fraser Island. Rum and milks are just been served.
Still 20 up. I need some towel backers. Is that coming? I need some towel backers real quick. What do you want? Towel backers. How you going? 10 heads. Towel backer for 20? Yep. Done. What's your bit?
Very simple game. That's why we can.
Towel backer. Towel backer for 10. Never fails.
me then. You walk past the window and I'm chasing pink flamingos. I've been known to do some crazy stuff. Well, that's alright. A few drinks to get things started now. When time flies by, a few more drinks and I haven't seen that the whole world's looking back at me then. You walk past the window and I'm chasing pink flamingos. Chasing pink flamingos. Chasing pink flamingos. Every now and then I see them writing on the wall. Who knows if I'll sink or swim, but I'm ready for the fall. With a couple of beers and a couple of mates down at the local place. As time flies by, a few more drinks and I haven't seen that the whole world's looking back at me then. You walk past the window and I'm chasing pink flamingos. It was a long march from cadets. The 6th Battalion was next to turn. It was me who drew the car. We need Canberra and Shoalwater before we left. Townsville lined the footpath as we marched down to the quay. The clippings from the papers shows us young and strong and clean. There's me with my slouch hat, SLR and greens. God help me, I was only 19. Bun tower riding Chinooks to the dust, knew he dad. Been in and out of choppers now for months. We made our tents a home VB and pin-ups on the lockers, and an Asian orange sunset through the scrub. And can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't go to sleep? Nighttime's just a jungle dark with a barking M16. And what's this rash that comes and goes? Can you tell me what it means? God help me, I was only 19. A 4-week operation. Each step with me, your last one on 2 legs. It's a war within yourself. You wouldn't let your mates down till they had you dusted off. So you close your eyes and you thought about something else. Then someone yells out contact, and the bloke behind me swore. We hooked in there for hours when it got almighty raw. And Frankie kicked to mind the day that mankind kicked the moon. God help me, he was going home in June. I can still see Frankie drinking tinnies at the Grand Hotel on a 36-hour regular in Bun Tower. And I can still see Frankie lying screaming in the jungle till the morphine came and killed the bloody row. And the Anzac legends never mention mud and blood and tears. And the stories that my father told me never seemed quite real. I caught some pieces in my back that I didn't even feel. God help me, I was only 19. And can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't go to sleep? Why the Channel 7 chopper chills me to my feet? What's this rash that comes and goes? Can you tell me what it means? God help me, I was only 19.
I'm down to about 7,000 or 8,000 of them, so you better hurry. No, on a serious note, all of my albums are 100% guaranteed. If you don't like them, you can always give them back to me and I'll send you back a CD of shit that I don't like, so. You think I'm joking? Sunlight, moonshine, anytime, it's a good day for fishing. The beer flows, the tide's low. Here we go, it's a good day for fishing. All you need is a few good mates and a watering hole. Grab your bag, pack your swag and off you go. And you'll have tight lines, fireside, drinking moonshine. It's a good day for fishing. Here flows